Welcome to the Cyber Agony Aunt podcast series, brought to you by your very own cyber aunties, me, Amelia Hewitt.
And me, Rebecca Taylor. We're here to tackle the most pressing questions that arise throughout your cyber career with a selection of very special guests.
Think of us as your very own mentors, confidants, and cheerleaders, your agony aunts for surviving your career. Hello, and welcome back to the Cyber Agony Aunt podcast.
Hello, team. It's nice to be back again.
I know.
So, for this episode, it's going to be a good one. We've invited someone incredibly special and actually a friend. So this person is an emerging talent who has genuinely really rooted herself in the cyber community and has gone a long way into building those initial foundations, those initial steps to having that fantastic cybersecurity career. I know Amelia and I mentor a lot of individuals in the community, and this initial stepping stone is one of the most important parts to being who you want to be in the world of cyber. So, superstar, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, so I'm Phoebe Farrelly. I am a degree apprenticeship at PwC, and so my course is a bit of a sandwich course. So I study computer science at the University of Birmingham, but I also work at PwC over the summer holidays, and then I also do a year in industry on top of that. So I've actually just started this week doing my year in industry with PwC. I also just want to say a massive thank you for inviting me on. It's been on my bucket list for a few years now to be on a podcast, so thank you very much for having me. At PwC, I don't actually work in cybersecurity, so that's all the stuff that I do on the side. So at PwC, I'm actually working in data analytics in deals. So I take client data and get rid of anomalies so that the data can be used to create stories that make a client seem valuable to be bought or sold.
Wow. I mean, I wish I knew what most of that meant. I think what you're doing is amazing, and having come from an apprenticeship background myself, I am so happy to see that there are opportunities like this, because cyber apprenticeships didn't exist when I got into cyber, really, or if they did, they were so scarce. And I know it's stating the obvious, but also the fact that you're a young woman doing this is incredible, because these are the kind of influences that we need in the industry and the kind of voices that I think we need as well.
I totally agree. We are very, very proud of you, proud of what you represent and proud of what you're doing. So it's genuinely awesome to have you here. I'm so excited to get to talk to you today. As I kind of already touched on, Amelia and I are mentoring and helping people out in the community. And we do have a lot of people reaching out and asking how best to get their foot in the door, about the community around them, and how to also just find like-minded individuals, which is, again, where hopefully you can offer some insights. So in this episode, we want to dig into the weeds on how you root yourself in cyber from day dot and start building those bridges.
That was a strong
I smashed
intro.
it.
So, Phoebe, if we think of a scenario where someone is looking to land a cyber apprenticeship and they don't know where to start, can you offer any tips on where they could look and how they could best prepare?
Okay, so for my apprenticeship, I found it on a DOV newsletter, actually. And me and my mum decided to book into the UOB open day that day. And when I went to the open day, I thought, wow, that's for me. So I'd say sign up to newsletters, but also follow universities on LinkedIn. So I think through that, I found out about CyberWomen groups, which was previously CyberWomen at Warwick. So I went to their first conference in 2023, thanks to that. So I would sign up to newsletters and follow universities that you're interested in on LinkedIn. That's a very easy way to start off. But I know of some other degree apprenticeships. So I think Vodafone, BT, Arm, the Intelligence Services, the Civil Service, BAE Systems, Leonardo, Kinetic, just to name a few. So I think you can do a Google search and there's quite a lot. And I know quite a lot of people who've gone through those routes. And then I also wanted to mention whether or not an apprenticeship is the right route. So for me, one of the trade-offs is that I don't get some long summer holidays. So because I'm working over the summer, I don't get that time. But it depends on the individual whether or not you want to do that. So for me, I think the experience I get is invaluable from this. I'm really lucky that I've been able to work out how to work in the workplace, the responsibility, the soft skills, and I've been able to build my network within the firm and beyond, thanks to my degree apprenticeship. So I would recommend it.
I think that's one of the things as well when you're trying to get that foot in the door and have that cybersecurity career, is if you've had that lived experience, so you're making the most of the opportunity. And whilst there is something nice about having the summer, actually utilising it to get that lived experience to be able to demonstrate your skill sets and also just meet some people in industry, that goes such a long way when you do get to the end of that degree and you start applying for full-time positions.
Yeah, I'm thinking back on my own sort of apprenticeship experience, because I didn't do a degree apprenticeship. I did a sort of computer science infrastructure technician apprenticeship in the legal sector. So my route into cyber wasn't necessarily through cybersecurity or through that sort of formalized training, but actually what you say around those skills and almost like employment skills are so valuable. I knew how to conduct myself in a workplace, which sounds really silly, but actually things like how do you handle conflict? How do you manage stakeholders? How do you also cope with the absolute exhaustion of commuting every day? Which sounds, again, really silly, but by the time I came into cybersecurity as a consultant, I had built up all of these transferable skills and all of these sort of little tips and tricks for surviving the workplace, I think, that were really helpful. And, you know, I couldn't see myself doing that university go out and get plastered every night thing. I just did that in a work sense. But I think also, you know, with what you've said of, do you imagine that kind of lifestyle? Does that work for you? Is really important, because some people need that. They need to blow off that steam after doing A-levels. Whereas I think others, and definitely like myself, I felt so raring to go and probably make money more than anything, that was the right path for me.
It's interesting when I reflect back, I don't think apprenticeships were a thing when I was picking. It was always, the option was you went to university. That was a very pushed topic when obviously I was selecting. I'm a Portsmouth graduate, but yeah, I wish I'd had that option, because yeah, as we said, being able to then hit the ground running, you know what to expect, rather than the reality check of, oh no, I've been kind of mooching through life as a uni student and now I have to be grown up and corporate. It does count when you're able to list that on your CV, say what you've done, be able to demonstrate the skills, but the lived experience, like we've said, it does make a difference.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said for, you can have all the certifications and all the degrees in the world, but you actually may not be that good at your job. And I think having hands-on and lived experience, also of what you do and don't like, I really feel for people when they come into the industry with one career in mind and they go, actually, this isn't for me. And I think with a lot of apprenticeships, and quite similar to grad schemes in organisations I've worked for, you get a little flavour of things that you might like and don't like. So I think there's a lot to be said, actually, for what we used to call the alternative route. And I hated it when people said that. But I think it might be a better route for people.
Dipping the toe in, seeing what you think, what you like. Like you said, that's so true. I hadn't thought of it like that. Phoebe, I have a question for you. So we did let people know that you were joining us, and so we had a question come in. So this person asks, I am struggling to balance university, work and community leadership. How do you do it? Tell us about life in CyberWomen.
So when I did my first placement with PwC, I was awakened to the world of Google Calendar. And ever since then, I've really just stuck to my Google Calendar as a reminder of what's going on, because often I sign up to quite a lot of things, and then it's a good reminder that I have that the day. But also early mornings, so I'm a bit of an early bird, and maybe it doesn't work for everyone. I think some people like to do their shifts between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. It's not for me, personally. But I find that if I wake up early in the morning and I crack on with what I want to do, then I find I can keep up the momentum and I feel good. So then I think, okay, well, I've accomplished this, so I can crack on and I'll do the laundry quickly before I go. At the moment, my current hobby is I'm learning Japanese before work at the moment.
As you do.
As you do. So I'd say, yeah, maybe carving out that time where before work, especially if you can wake up early, then you have the time to be doing these side hobbies, whether it's working for a community group or so on. I also say if you're starting to get stuck on something, to go get fresh air.
So true.
I love to just go on a walk, no tech, clear my head. I can either think it through or I can just think of nothing. And I find that really helps. And I would also say just doing things anyway. So I think with a lot of things that I've gotten involved in with cybersecurity, CyberWomen, for example, my first talk at a conference, I nearly backed out because the same week I'd lost my house keys and I just got really, really stressed. And I thought, maybe this isn't for me. But I did it with a partner from CyberWomen. And together she said, let's go in and let's do it anyway. And I'm so glad that I did it because I came out of the conference thinking, wow, that was really fun. And I've spoken at 2 more conferences. So I think sometimes when you have that voice saying, don't do it, just do it anyway, because 9 times out of 10, it will be worth it.
I love that. Just do it anyway.
I feel really warm.
I know, but it's so true because I think as well that tied to things like self-doubt, things around self-belief, worth. I think we can often not only self-deprecate, but back ourselves out of things. You're like, the world is telling me it's not the right time.
The universe is giving me a sign.
Well done you. Well, tell me, why Japanese?
It's just been an interest since I went in year 8, I think. And then I've just kept it up ever since. At university, you can pick to do a free language course.
Oh,
wow. Yes, I've been keeping it up ever since. It's just something that I've actually quite enjoyed. And at PwC, I've actually gotten involved in the Japan Business Network. So
well done.
There's an event coming up soon in October, which I'm helping out with. So I'd love to get to a proficiency where I could maybe go on secondment one day to Japan.
Can you imagine?
That is so cool. So fun. I mean, I completely applaud that because Rebecca and I look at each other thinking, how does she do it all? But, and we get that as well. Sort of how do you manage it? And, with a book and a podcast and jobs and charities and all these other things that are going on, I think we've really learned. I think we've learned a lot of tips that really help. But the key thing, and you've touched on it very well, Phoebe, is that accountability partner piece. So as an example, and a really trivial one, I am going on holiday and I hate packing. Like, I don't enjoy doing it. I think it's something that should be done at last minute as a principle. But even things like getting my suitcase out of the shed. I was texting with Rebecca yesterday and I was saying, I need to do this thing, but, I've sat down and now I can't get up. And she was like, no, you're going to go and do it. And saying to someone, okay, so I'm going to pack. Can you check in with me in an hour? Mm-hmm. And 9 out of 10 times I'm doing it because I think, I wouldn't want her to be disappointed in me.
She'll call me and I won't have accomplished it.
But it seems silly, but it is having that sort of accountability partner or person who can be by your side and sort of be in your corner. And even for those little things, it's a little bit of motivation. It's like the analogy of you always drive better when you have someone else in the car because you feel more accountable for their life. And the advice I got when I passed my test was have a teddy bear next to you because it will simulate that feeling of being responsible. But I think the same sort of cognitive process applies to when you've got a sprawling to-do list.
Yeah. And we felt that with the book, right? Of checking in. Have you done this yet? Have you checked this? Using beautiful spreadsheets to check in with each other and see where we were. But I really love the piece where, in essence, you spoke about time management and having that diary, having a plan. Because again, it can feel very overwhelming when you do have that big old to-do list and you don't know where to start. But planning your time effectively and building in things like downtime.
Yeah.
So whilst I'm not the best at it, I do have it in my diary like this is my lunch hour. And I actually had a mentee this week be like, I'm not sure about building lunch hours in because I don't want it to look like I'm always stepping out to eat. I was like, no, it doesn't have to be that you're doing that. You're just building in some time where you can breathe and you can stop and you can do something for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think we often, when we're in that world of work or we're juggling a lot, they're the kind of things that slip. And finishing at a good time and going to the gym, learning languages, whatever that might be. So time management does count.
Yeah, and on that, I got some really good advice from my personal trainer recently. I was complaining that, as I often do to her about all manner of things, that I didn't have enough time to go to the gym because I'm really busy with clients and whatnot. And she said to me, you have to treat going to the gym or having a hobby or doing anything for yourself that you are the client, because you wouldn't factor in a client meeting into your calendar and then just not turn up, would you? So when you're putting this gym time in your calendar and you're thinking, oh, actually, I'm just going to work through it, or I'm just going to go and sit upstairs and play on my phone instead, you're letting down a client. And I thought, one, that feels so personal. And two, I actually think that's a really good way of looking at it, that you owe yourself as much time and grace as you give everyone else. And so factoring in that time where, and I will do it if I have a really busy day, I will block out an hour, or even to go for a walk or walk the dog or catch up with a friend. I will factor in time to respond to my WhatsApp messages, because little things like that just fall by the wayside if you don't plan them and you don't organise them. So I think giving yourself that little bit of respect that we often don't give ourselves can actually go quite a long way.
I'm going to take that. I've turned into a potato because I've stopped going to the gym, because it is that thing of finding the time.
Yeah.
But you're so right, building it and treating it with the respect that you deserve and that you give others. That's such a good tip.
It wasn't mine. I can't take any credit for it. Anyway, moving on. CyberWomen CIC. So we've sort of briefly touched on it and the work that you do there. Firstly, I'd like to know in a bit more detail, what actually is CyberWomen CIC for anyone who doesn't know? We'll start with that, actually.
Okay, sure. So it's a CIC, so Community Interest Company. I think that's the right acronym. So it started off, as far as I'm aware, I'm not the founder, but it started off as a place for people to meet up, and I think the ethos is to improve the diversity and inclusivity in cybersecurity, because I think it was set up by two girls who were doing a cybersecurity degree, and they were pretty much the only ones there. So I think it was first created to become a community, but it's since evolved into this massive community of, I think there's over 10 branches. There's 10 branches at the moment, but soon to grow. And they put on each university branch puts on events, I think 3 events minimum per year. So these could be conferences, webinars. I set up CyberWomen at Birmingham, actually.
Woo-woo!
So I was co-president last year. So we organised a workshop at Mills & Reeves, which is a law firm in the city centre. We got James Riley from Immersive in, and we gave OSINT and incident response workshops, which was really exciting. So but we've also had webinars with CompTIA, and we've also had, what's he called?
It's okay.
Not sure. Oh, Joe Wells from LinkedIn as well. He was on one of our webinars. And
does he work for LinkedIn, or is he on LinkedIn?
I think he got famous on LinkedIn for his Try Hack Me streak, and he gave a talk on how that's just absolutely taken him on with his career, and how just 45 minutes a day has just absolutely been amazing. So we've been able to organise these events that give back to the community and give people, I suppose, an entry-level way into cybersecurity, because it's difficult without the experience to show your enthusiasm.
For sure. And the second part of my question is, why do you think these community groups are so important? Because they are. That's not me sort of playing devil's advocate, but I'm interested to understand in your experience how that's benefited you and the women around you.
It's sort of what I was saying. So you have these role models now. So Sophie and Jen, the co-founders, they've been absolutely amazing in pioneering this. I've been able to go to events now and feel like I belong. I remember my first conference thinking, I'm a student and I'm a girl. But actually now I've been to so many in the past few years. And I think because there is this CyberWomen name that I can say, oh, I'm in CyberWomen, people think, oh yeah, that makes sense. And they don't bat an eyelid. Whereas I think going in as a female student, you kind of sometimes think, why am I here? So yeah, it's also been a platform for me to network from, and it's also been a platform for me to to try things that I didn't think I'd be able to do. So going back to sort of accountability that we were talking about earlier, because from CyberWomen, they've reached out saying, we're doing a Capture the Flag with CrestCon Europe. I was able to build CTF challenges with JSON web tokens and WebSockets, and I didn't even touch those to begin with. So I was able to have the accountability to do something I thought, I'm not technical enough for this. But because I'd signed up and because I had deadlines, I was able to learn something that I was really interested in.
I think what makes me happiest is, and I hope people at home can feel this, like you're genuinely smiling and you're happy. And I think that's one of the nicest things. And Amelia and I have spoken about it before. At points in our career, we have felt alone. And so hearing about obviously how it was founded and that it started with two women being like,
it's just us.
It's just us. I think a lot of us have felt that in our cybersecurity careers from sort of those underrepresented communities. And as females, obviously, that's the angle I'm speaking from. So yeah, it's lovely to hear how happy you are, but actually the opportunities that it's giving you. And I think one of the most important things with these kind of community groups is that it really does just level the playing field. It gives everyone, obviously that's a member, that opportunity to participate, to meet people, to have that same kind of initial experience that others maybe have handed to them in an easier way. And then you can use that to elevate yourself and to seek out new opportunities, right, like you did. Absolutely. With all your beautiful speaking engagements, you superstar.
Thank you.
I mean, firstly, Cybaid actually did the pen test for that CTF platform. So when you were talking about it, I was like, that sounds really familiar. And I thought, oh, yeah, that's why. But no, it was very secure. I'd just like to add, very secure.
Built by pros.
Yeah. But I think you're right. I think it's that thing that we always say of like, you struggle to be what you can't see. And that was, when I started in cyber, I didn't have role models in the sense of, what we know them to be now in the industry. And I think it's really lovely. And maybe you don't see this about yourself, but you are a role model for so many women. And the look on your face is you don't agree with me. But even if you don't realise it, there are so many women that, and not just women actually, there are so many people in the industry who are looking up to you as someone who is doing the thing that everyone wants to do. And so I think you should be very proud of yourself for that. But I think that shows how important these things are, because it puts you in that position to be a good influence and to be a sort of, as Rebecca would say, a shining light.
You make me sound like a hippie. I totally agree. I think you are a role model, and I think you're a change maker, and you're using your experiences, what you have available to you, to make change and to give others a chance. And that's what will count. We've spoken about before about our legacies and what we want to leave behind. I think if you reflect back a few podcasts, Amelia said, what will we leave when we die? Because that was the angle she went with that day.
I've never lived that one down. All I said, to reiterate, was that, people don't remember what you did. They remember how you made them feel. So it wasn't that morbid.
Reflecting back on what we've just spoken about, when you're living that career and you are that absolute legend, you can look back at the beautiful path that you left behind you and the difference that you made, and see all those women in CyberWomen CIC when it's that massive institution that I think it is going to become. You'll know you played a really big part.
Oh, absolutely.
We're so proud of you. You're going all blush.
It's just hot in here.
So jumping into the next question, we've spoken about CTFs, but actually you have also played a part and taken part in the Cyber Leader Challenges, which are relatively new as a concept, I think. I don't think they've been around for a really, really long time. But can you tell us a little bit more about that and any takeaways really you had from the experience for anyone wanting to join in?
Okay, sure. So a quick recap of what it is. It used to be called the Cyber 912 Challenge, but then I think the UK version has been renamed.
Catchy.
I'm trying to think what that even stands for.
Yes, it's been renamed now to the Cyber Leaders Challenge, and it's for university students to get involved in maybe more high-level cybersecurity, so looking at law, policy, geopolitics, rather than just hands-on CTF challenges. So it was really interesting for me because I've done a few CTFs before, but I've never done something where it's more your soft skills and how well you can present. So we started off as a team of 4, And actually from CyberWomen, I was able to make my team as well. So I didn't even know what it was, to be honest. And then there was a message saying, we need one more person. So I was able to link up with some other CyberWomen to form a team.
I love that.
Yeah. But then one of us had to actually drop out. But luckily they let us through still as a 3. And we ended up getting all the way to the finals. So we came 3rd out of the 65 teams, which was just like, I think it was probably my biggest achievement of the year, to be fair. Absolutely awesome. And the concept of the challenge is you get given a pack of documents. So these might be emails from like fictitious intelligence services, but then there's also like news articles. You have to then collate all this information together and come up with a 2-page briefing document and then a 10-minute presentation on what you think's going on, whether you think it's a cyber attack, and if so, how risky it is. And then you have to inform people who maybe aren't that technical in what they should do. So the final round was we were in front of a fictitious prime minister and the cabinet office, and they didn't know what a VPN was. So we were taking on this port problem and had to translate it into what they should be doing. So it was absolutely fantastic trying to explain these technical terms in simple terms. And I mean, from it, I realised that actually that's actually a really interesting role, and it's not something I thought about, like a leadership role where you're doing like a Cobra style meeting. So I think it's been really good for me, but I think the best part of it has got to be my mentor, Colin Topping of Ginger Cat Security.
Oh, he's great.
Shout out.
Really great.
He's been absolutely amazing. So he was actually, because he's quite well focused in OT through his career, and because the theme of the challenge this year was OT and ports, we thought, oh, this is amazing. So he was able to instruct us on all the NCSE frameworks. But since the competition, he's still been on board with us. He's got a big network and he's connected us with lots of his friends in the industry. So it's been absolutely fantastic. So I've got a mentor out of it. But I reached the 500 plus mark on LinkedIn from this challenge.
Influencing you.
So it was also just fantastic. So Rob Black, who's sort of the main lead of it, his main takeaway that he said to us was, there's so many fantastic judges and mentors in the room. Go network with all of them and come out with all these new connections. And I have so many new friends, either who are other students or now other people in industry who I actually found people who have a role that I'd love to work in the future. So it's been really good clarity for me to kind of work out why I love cyber and what I want to do in the future. So, yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. My conversations with Rob are usually after a few glasses of wine, so they're far less civilised. But no, I mean, I think schemes and programmes like this are so incredible. And I recently, at the finalists drinks get together for the Cyber Awards, I met a few people who had done the challenge, and it's so fascinating to hear just how much you learn from it and what you grow from it, because actually what you're talking about is very similar to what we do in consulting, but sometimes it takes people years to refine those skills of how do you translate a technical scenario, and especially in OT. And as someone who's worked a lot in OT, most of the stakeholders you work with are engineers, they're not cyber people, or they're leadership, and so they're not thinking in the sense of cybersecurity and technical elements. They are thinking in that more business sense and what does it mean for the business. So I think that's so important to get that experience to add to your portfolio. And, as someone who's hired previously and will be looking to hire in future, those are the things I would look for, is not can you recite, all of the most recent threats to infrastructure. It's okay, how do you communicate with people and how do you work with other people, and can you work as a team is another thing, because we do a lot of that in cybersecurity. So I think they're great. I'm just so jealous this didn't exist when I was new to the industry.
I'm sitting here like, yeah, that didn't happen for me. But again, just reflecting on what you've both said, those skills are so important. Being able to translate, that's a large part of what I spend my role doing, is translating technical, challenging conversations into threat intelligence that people can take and actually use, right the way from a school mum all the way up to a board. And so having those skills and being able to test it to see what kind of person you want to be as well when you're in those rooms, and how you're going to hold yourself and how you're going to present it. What an amazing opportunity.
Absolutely.
And I'm so glad you seize the opportunity and you've got a lovely mentor too.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And there, we spoke about this before, there is an element in our field of it's kind of who you know, not what you know. And, I think that is a good and a bad thing, because I have definitely, through the powers of LinkedIn and other means, found fantastic mentors, people in the industry to rely on, and also people that I can share my knowledge with. So I think it's really positive. And I hate that this is a gendered thing, but especially as a woman, to be able to have that level of profile, because we have seen a lot of that old boys club mentality in cybersecurity. But I actually think things like this are a really good way of shifting that narrative into being a lot more inclusive, so that you can raise your profile and you can meet all of these fantastic people that want to share their knowledge with you. Okay, so on to the last question. Probably ties in quite well to what I was just talking about, but actually something that I speak about quite regularly with lots of varying people in the industry and beyond. So the question is, I'm a member of senior leadership and I want to encourage more women to apply for our roles and apprenticeships. How can I best do this and create an appealing environment?
Okay, so when I think of this, I sort of need to put my myself hat on and think, what made me think that I want to do the degree apprenticeship? Because there were other opportunities available, but I had to think, well, why was this so appealing to me? So I think for me, I thought it would be the best way for me to test myself, push myself, and the best opportunity to get me out there and seen. But I think also when you're applying for somewhere, I think it's really important to see that there's a good culture, that there's the flexibility there, that there's a strong community. So at PwC, we have the HerTech talent community. So they put on conferences and workshops to help women in tech. I'm actually helping the comms on a podcast that they're doing at the moment. I was hoping to make my way into a podcast there, but I got invited on this one, so yippee. But also I think celebrating talent. So I was at the Women in Tech Awards this week, which is really exciting.
I saw your lovely photo from there.
Thank you. So I think showing that there's, that they know that there's maybe a minority in tech there. If it's if you're a tech company, getting more women in there, and also if there is that minority, that showing that candidates won't be treated different, and that they can also be part of the chance to drive change and bring more women into the firm, that they can make a difference as well.
I mean, I think you're completely right. And I think the thing I can maybe add to that from personal opinion is, interestingly, when we're talking about hiring more women and retaining more women, that it's really important to remember that the things we're looking for, especially as young women, is not always flexibility to go and have children. And I know we've definitely spoken about this in the book, but I find it utterly fascinating that the benefits that we are offered are like electric vehicles and nursery care, which for me, as someone in my early 20s, I don't care. Like, I don't
want a petrol car.
I don't have the real estate for an electric car. Where am I going to put that charger? I mean, and I think it's having initiatives like the opportunity to get more training, like the opportunity to go on things like leadership programs that as a young professional of any gender are actually really important. So I always will that one out at any opportunity I can get, because I think that's something that I've come up against is, I work for a fantastic organisation. They've got fantastic, culture. But actually, when you look at the benefits, I think, well, what's actually here for me as someone in this stage of my life that I am? And I'm sure, Rebecca, you'll have a different perspective on this.
Well, no, I think it ties quite closely in that I think if you are in a leadership position, or if you can influence policy, there is no shame in actually just asking different members of your workforce, what do they actually want? What do they actually need? There's no shame in asking your female employees or the women around you, what what do you need to be able to do your role? What would appeal to you? And building it around that rather than making an assumption that we all want like a cracking maternity policy. I've obviously enjoyed the maternity policies I've experienced because I've lived that part of my life. But actually, as a young professional, I didn't really care. Like, it wasn't on my radar. And I did want the opportunity to go and study. Do you support me with training courses, or would I have to self-fund? What's your annual leave like? So if I want to go and do a course or go on the leadership thing like Amelia and I met on Empowering You, are you going to advocate for that, or are you going to make my life difficult? They mattered more. So I think having those conversations with individuals across your organisation at varying points in their lives will make a difference to how long they stay, the culture, and that diversity and representation.
Yeah. I think the other side of that is how much loss as a technology sector that we incur through not being inclusive enough. So I was reading this week, and I think it's the Lovelace report I was reading, something like £3 billion of loss is incurred by overlooking women in the sector. And I think that's overall technology sector as opposed to just cyber. But that's so true, because you think about the loss of skills being one thing, the loss of perspective, the loss of different lived experiences and the experiences that we all bring, because, there's no secret about the fact that being good at a career in cybersecurity is a lot to do with what you've done previously, the experiences you've had in your life, not just sort of what you know in a technical sense, because as we've touched on, there are so many skills that you bring to a career in cybersecurity, diplomacy being one of them, that you probably miss out on, and empathy is another one. There have been so many studies by universities around the fact that women are inherently more empathetic, and we bring that, I think, some of those skills that in the times of crisis that you actually really need, especially if you're dealing with victim support or organisations that are going through significant breaches. And so, I think there is a lot to be said for the fact that, and there is also a lot of people who want to make that positive impact, but it's just being able to give them the information of how they do that I think sometimes we could all be doing better at.
And I think we've all said it time and time again, and I know we've spoken about this again, sorry to be repetitive on other podcasts, but from a threat perspective, from a cyber perspective, how can you truly understand the threat and the threat landscape? And those cyber actors who do have diversity and representation and people from different backgrounds, different social situations, you need to have that replicated in your own teams to have that diversity of thought and to best protect, detect, and respond. Oh, yeah, I did it.
So I think we're probably at time, but thank you, Phoebe. I mean, your answers have been amazing and you're a wonderful guest. Listeners, please spread the word and check out CyberWomen CIC and the Cyber Leaders Challenge, and please connect with Phoebe on LinkedIn, because now she's hit 500, we're going for 1,000.
Yes, exactly that. She'll forget about us one day when she's a celeb.
First podcast.
Making dreams happen.
I know. What can we say? I suppose just reflecting on what we've spoken about, remember, if you are listening and you want that career in cyber, you can do it. But do your research about what is available to you. Figure out if apprenticeship programs do work for you, or if you'd like to take a different pathway. Who or what could help you on that journey? We've touched on mentors and building those relationships. There are so many amazing programs, so many amazing universities, opportunities to learn. Just go grab them, own them, take them for you.
You always get to do the fun, inspirational bit, don't you? So to end, if you have any other questions relating to cyber careers or any of the topics we cover in this podcast, pop them through to us at cyberagonyaunt@gmail.com and we'll do our best to reply there, or maybe even cover them in a future podcast. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others or post about it on social media using the hashtag CyberAgonyAunt.
As always, a huge thank you to our guests, to Matinee Multilingual, and to you, our listeners. Keep smiling, keep shining, and we'll see you next time on the Cyber Agony Aunts podcast.